Yep. No
What up?
music today. No music today. What's up? What's up?
What's good, my
How are
brother? Good.
Ain't nothing much, man. I'm chilling. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Feeling good, man. Despite my team's efforts in trying to bring me down, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing all right.
Don't bring me down, Bruce.
You know
Like
what I'm saying?
on a on another topic, I need to look up the lyrics to that song. Like, why is Bruce bringing him down? And like, why? Like, Like what happened there that he was like, you know what? That Bruce guy, I'm putting him in the lyrics. He's don't you bring me down, dude. Not you.
hey, hey, I guarantee you there's a story behind it. That's what I will say. I guarantee you there's a story behind it. So
Not
that's
you.
funny.
Not you. But anyway, oh man, short episode today, you know what I mean? Not a whole lot to talk about. We got week 11 news, week 11 recap rather, and we got um s- small NBA news and also, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul was this weekend, lackluster fight, but a lot of you guys should have expected that. Um, but anyway, we gonna go ahead and get into it. Sean, um,
What up, man?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say to the people, link, like, subscribe. I see some people's already in here, so hit the like button. You know what I mean? Share it out to your friends, let them know. And also, just to let you guys know, we are now on a different streaming platform, Kick. We are on Kick. To We're streaming the Kick now, so if you have Kick or want to watch us on Kick, do that as well. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get into it. I ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's go ahead and start with the Week 11 recap. All right, man.
Yeah.
So, what was, as always, like we always do, um, what was your favorite game
Favorite game. You
from
know, let me
week?
let me. Look, I said I got my dry erase board here, man. I got notes today. All right. I'm not gonna hold you. My favorite game, the Jets game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not the best game. It's not the worst game. It's not the most intriguing game, but it was my favorite game. You know why, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, Aaron Rodgers did get the job done, and every time that happens, it brings a smile to my face. Every time a new media member steps up and says, "Man, maybe Aaron Rodgers is the problem." Whenever
Mm-hmm.
that happens, whenever that happens, you know what I'm saying? That brings a smile to my face. I really don't like Aaron Rodgers. It is what it is. Call me a hater, call me what you want. But honestly, what it comes down to is I felt bad for Robert Saleh when he got fired. I think he's a good coach. I'm not going to sit here and tell coach that deserved the chance that he got when he went to the Jets. And I also feel like he was doing a decent job there with the Jets. He had the Jets looking better than they had since Rex Ryan was the coach. So, or you got to go back to Rex Ryan and Eric Mangini, right? So,
Right.
um, I felt like he got a raw deal, and I feel like watching karma play out right in front of me is like the greatest thing ever. But what I will say is this, Mark: the worst part about that game, uh, the worst part about that game is that it ended in the Jets GM getting fired,
Is that
right?
the worst thing that could have happened?
Yeah, because to me, Mark, the to me, this is the issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's be honest. I don't think the GM is the one who wanted to bring Aaron Rodgers in. I think it was the owner.
Mm.
So the owner is firing everybody in the line that had no choice but to take on Aaron Rodgers. All right? And
Okay.
everybody's getting the axe. But the one thing he won't do, he won't bench Aaron Rodgers. He won't pull him aside. Like, okay, maybe benching Aaron Rodgers is a little bit much, even in the circumstances that exist right now because of what he's done in the league and all these other things. I'll give you that. But damn it, you can't pull him. You can't pull him aside and have a conversation with him. And if you do pull him aside and have a conversation with him, why couldn't you do that before you fired everybody that wasn't responsible for what was happening? So yes, that's why. That's what I mean. Because to me, the GM getting fired over this absolutely shows that the GM didn't have any parts of it. It
Mm.
wasn't the GM's decision to bring Aaron Rodgers in.
Okay. Um, I see where you're coming from. I could see a path to where that very well may be true that the GM didn't have anything to do with Aaron Rodgers being there or the continuation of Aaron Rodgers kind of having his way there. And
Yes,
so I get that.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
won't be happy until Aaron Rodgers is either benched or gone from the team. I don't. I guess that's what I'll say. I won't
well,
be
the
fully
current
satisfied.
the current rumor is that the that Aaron Rodgers is on his way out with the Jets. That this will be his last season with the Jets, and I mean that feels plainly obvious. You gotten everything you wanted here. You've gotten Alan Lazard. You've gotten what's his name last year, and
Randall Cobb,
we had Randall Cobb last
God,
year, and
Randall
now
Cobb, Alan Lazard.
this year Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And not only did you get Devontae Adams, but you also ran out Mike Williams. So you've gotten everything that you've wanted up until this point, and now things ain't working out, and it continues to not work out, and you don't look good. You don't practice. Well, I shouldn't say you don't practice, but you weren't showing up for training camp and things of that nature. You chose to spend time in a dark tent in the woods versus or in a desert rather versus showing up to camp. So that's what you did. Um, Matthew Patty says I actually applied for the Jets GM job today. Figured I could run that clown show. Hey man, I figure you can too. Everybody at this point seems like they can. Hey, shout out! Do want to point this out. Shout out to Sharice. 2 episodes in a row, she showed up and she's actually in attendance. That is dope. I appreciate that.
Um, I'll say specifically it's dope because her team is coming off of back-to-back losses, and instead of running, she showed up to the show, and I appreciate you showing up here. Not that we have smoke for your team, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a chance that we could be talking about your team, and you still showed up. So shout out to Sharice, man.
Yeah, very much so, man. But look, man, it's gonna be yeah, man. I think it's gonna be very interesting to think. Oh man, dang it, Sean.
What's
I,
up?
I didn't play our theme music.
Oh no, you did it. I thought you. Okay, I got you. I didn't know you had a cue. There we go.
Yeah, our theme music ain't playing, baby. Come on now. All right, now we can really get into the
We
stream. All
just got
right, here we
the
are.
original, you know, what I'm saying everything original theme music, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Our original theme music. Yeah, let's do it. But anyway, like I was saying, man. But like I was saying, man. Jets, man, they're cooked. GM fired. His owner ain't gonna fire himself. So like, I'm actually interested in like a GM or a coach one day just having enough and writing a tell all about what's actually going on. Like, hey man, this owner is doing this. This is happening here. All that. Like, I want to hear that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to hear like what was really happening behind the scenes with these owners and what the type of stuff that they wanted you to do. We kind of got a glimpse into that with the Brian Flores thing and how he was ousted and how he was asked to tank the season and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But we ain't getting nothing like that. I would
Yeah,
like to get something like that again.
yeah, no, absolutely. And then real quick, I want to be very clear, man. The wildest thing is I seen the headline, right? It popped up in a push notification on my phone, and it was like New York. All I saw was New York GM gets fired, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. My initial reaction was like, damn, the Giants actually fired the GM, boy, and this shit is overdue. And then I looked closer and it said New York Jets.
But here, but here's the thing. It needed to be the Jets thing. Like you said, you don't blame him, but there's other things to blame him for other than Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the offensive line is on him. It's
yeah,
not has nothing to do
the
with
offensive line is a problem. You acquired a player that wanted money this season in
Hassan
Hassan
Reddick.
in Hassan Reddick. You acquired him knowing that he wanted money, and then ignored them and let that situation fester all the way up until like week 9. Like that's that's a you problem, bro. Like that, like you needed him. You needed him in week 3. Like you guys had defensive line problems in week 3, and you just were not willing to solve that issue. So
Yeah.
there's other things that was going on within that team that has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers outside of outside of the owner. So
Yeah, no, and I hear you, and I get that. I agree with you 1,000%. It's not like he was doing a phenomenal job per se. You know what I'm saying? Hey, like I'm sure the owner isn't one who told you to go get Zach Wilson. You know what I'm saying? The owner didn't tell you to do that.
right.
So with that said, though, the New York Giants GM, he got to be gone at the end of the. I think his time is up because they announced that they're benching Daniel Jones, which we could briefly talk about that real quick. The craziest thing about that, Mark, is they're benching Daniel Jones, but instead of starting Drew Lock, they're gonna start DeVito. So
Right.
they went and acquired Drew Lock to be the backup QB, but they're deciding to start DeVito over Drew Lock. So I still think it's a situation to where they're half-assing it. I'm gonna bring it back to the military, Mark. You know what I'm saying? You get your little LOC, they write you up, and then they verbally tell you, "Hey, man, I'm gonna put this in my desk, and depending on your actions for the next week, will determine whether or not I put this in your personal information file or whether I rip it up and throw it in the trash." You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do that as a leader, but you absolutely shouldn't announce it to the person while you're writing them up, right? So it just takes the steam off everything. I'm gonna bench you, Daniel Jones, but I'm not gonna put in the quarterback that we brought in to be the second string quarterback. We're gonna put in DeVito, somebody that you feel like your job isn't going to be threatened by. So yeah, I still feel like they half-assing it out there, but that does reek of signs of the GM or possibly the coach getting fired over there in New York.
Well, now this is a situation 100% another GM that needs to be fired. Everything about that that Hard Knocks offseason, I love the Hard Knocks offseason because it showed the complete ineptitude of that organization. Like, it showed everything that's wrong with that organization, and it's all the front office. That GM is lost. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't understand the system. And in fact, maybe they should hire the kid that was telling them, "Hey,
His
man."
son?
No, not his son, but the guy that was like, "Hey, man, you sure nobody's going to want to sign Saquon Barkley?" He was like,
And he's
"What?"
like, he said, who would want to sign him for that kind of money? He's like, people who have the money? Like anybody that has
It was like people that want
money?
an elite running back.
That's crazy. So look, I would hire him and his son. His son told him straight up. Say what he asked everybody in the family what's their opinion on the situation for draft, and he said, "Look, man," he said, "we need a QB." I like the fact that his son wasn't trying to sugarcoat it or nothing. He said, "We need a QB." He said, "and I think that we should take Jaden Daniels." Okay, he was very clear. We need a QB, and we should take Jaden Daniels. I don't think we should take a wide receiver if we don't have a QB. Man, and he just chuckled and laughed and smiled, and I'm like, no, your son is trying. Your son didn't look like he was laughing. And then your son even told you, look, you only get this type of job once, man. He's like, you only going to be the GM of the New York Giants once. Like, your son could see the firing happening. He can see the writers on the wall already, and he's frustrated with you because you ain't even listening to him when he knows what he's talking about. Bro, that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
His son seen it.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, let's keep it with the Jets and the
Yeah.
Colts though for a second, because that Jets
Oh,
Colts game, I do want to talk about this, man. Anthony Richardson, rightfully so, got benched. He received a benching, rightfully so, a few weeks ago for taking himself out the game and for just simply playing horribly. But he gets back in because what's his name has one bad game. Why can't I think of his name right now?
oh, you're talking about Flacco.
Yes, Joe Flacco. Like, Joe Flacco has one bad game, and they was like, okay. And they folded and put Anthony Richardson back in. And Anthony Richardson decides to all of a sudden have a good game against what should have been a good defense. But now that it's interesting to me about the Jets is because now that they do not have Robert Saleh, we can see that the defensive coordinator or the guy that was the defensive coordinator had less to do with that defense's success than Robert Saleh, because that defense is not as good as it was when Robert Saleh was the head coach. That defense is falling apart. And so, I mean, you're letting Anthony Richardson go out there, go 20 for 30 and for 272 yards. Like, come on, man. Like, the dude didn't have an interception and only had 2 sacks. Like, y'all let Anthony Richardson go out there and ball.
Hey, as soon as they hit the red zone, they wasn't even trying to mask it or nothing. We just gonna make Anthony Richardson run the ball into the end zone. It's very simple, man. It was very crazy. It was crazy how they had no answer for it, man. And it wasn't like he was forced to like run people over or they weren't making it difficult for him, Mark, at all.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah, Sauce. He says Sauce lost all his sauce, and I couldn't agree more, bro. Sauce does not look like himself. Nobody on the defense looks like themselves.
Williams ain't stuff. He ain't stuff in the middle. He ain't like it's a lot going on with that Jets defense, man. They're not really stopping the run like they're supposed to do any of that stuff, man. Real quick, I wanted to respond to a couple of these comments. You know, Matthew Petty, real quick, he said that he was speaking on you talking about the tell-all books. That would be a career-ending. That would be career-ending headed to retirement, but it would be epic if Mike McCarthy did it. I'm sure Mike McCarthy would have a lot to say, considering he had a deal with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and then also Brett Favre, and then he also was part of the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? So that he would probably have a whole lot to say. That would be crazy. I would love to hear from those types of coaches that may be harboring ill will towards some players, and I would love to hear what they got to say. The other one I wanted to respond to Christopher Blade Denham. How long does the Cowboys head coach have a job for? And the answer is for as long as he's willing to let Jerry Jones steer the ship. And that's the real answer, you know. And basically, the fans are going to have to completely chase him out of there. But even that takes a while. We watched Sean Garrett continue to be killed online about just being on the sideline and clapping for 2 or 3, three seasons at least. Right. And then when he left, it seemed as though he left on his own terms. Right, so as long as Jerry can steer the ship, he doesn't care how long Mike McCarthy is there. So he's going to be there as long as he's willing to keep his mouth shut and do what Jerry wants. All right, we can get back to the.
All right, so yeah, man. One person that I would like to do a tell-all about the behind-the-scenes stuff is God dang it, I just had his name. Is Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett. I want another Cowboys head coach or former head coach. I would love to hear what his tell-all, because the guys that are forced to eat a bunch of crap from the former coach, I mean from the owner, and then everything gets pointed at them as if they're the problem, and they have to eat all this crap. I want to hear their side of things, like because we've written off Jason Garrett, we've written off every coach that the Cowboys has had as if they were terrible when it's clearly a ownership problem.
Real quick, in Jason Garrett's defense too, I want to add, Jason Garrett left the Cowboys, went to be the offensive coordinator for the New York Knicks. I mean, for the New York Giants, excuse me, for the New York Giants. If I'm not mistaken, he was over there when they had Daniel Jones take them to the playoffs. You have to give credit where credit is due.
Hey man, if you can get Daniel Jones to the playoffs, there you go.
That's what I'm saying. So like you said, we did write him off. But to your point, Mark, the same way that you want to see the guy that might have an axe to grind against ownership that's been blamed for things that weren't quite his problem. That's what I'm saying with the Mike McCarthy thing, where I want to see the coach who was blamed for the quarterback's issues or the things that the quarterbacks were doing. And but either way, I think we're both saying the same thing, Mark. I don't want no vanilla, sugar-coated tell-all book. You know, I don't want nothing looking like that weak-ass documentary that they did on the Florida Gators during Urban Meyer's time. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the juicy details. You know what I'm saying? You know what we hear. I want unfiltered, unadulterated truth. And to get that, I feel like it has to be a guy like a Jason Garrett, you know, like now you can add Robert Saleh to the list. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a guy like that to where they feel scorned or whatever. Brian Flores, you know, it has to be a guy like that. So that's what I'm hoping for. I don't care if it comes next year or 10 years from now, Mark. I'm going to be all about it.
All right. Yeah. All right. So next up, another game that I wanted to talk about is let's talk about the Chargers Bengals, man. Well, not just the Chargers Bengals. I want to wrap this all up into one. So we're going to talk about the Chargers Bengals, Ravens, and what was the other one that had kicking issues? Oh, and the Eagles had kicking issues. Let's go ahead.
Eagles, that's what it was. Eagles, yeah. Bengals, and the Ravens.
Yeah, what's going on with the kickers this season, guys? What's happening? 2 out of 3, the kicker has cost the team the game. And guess what, Sean? Not a punch was thrown.
Maybe some punches should have been thrown. Maybe the kicker would have made a kick, and maybe they would have won the game like the Niners did.
All three teams didn't throw a punch, and the Eagles won.
Well, then I can honestly say the results are the results. They didn't need to punch. They need to punch him. They didn't need to do anything to him. But he's also known as one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. So you trust that guy.
Okay.
Question, Mark. Why are the Ravens still trusting Justin Tucker?
I don't know. But what I find interesting about the Ravens-Steelers game is the fact that the Ravens are trusting Justin Tucker when they probably shouldn't. But on the other side of that, you have the Steelers actually trusting Chris Boswell. Remember, there was a time when they didn't trust Chris Boswell at all, and they just going for 2 points.
There was a time where they didn't trust any of the kickers. There was like an 8-year period where at least you knew, hey, look, man, we got to prepare for the Steelers this week. Hey, we got to practice 2-point conversion defense. Like, you just had to, like, you couldn't go into a Steelers game. Like, if that joint was longer than 30 yards, they was going for it on 4th down, Mark. It was a crazy time. Yeah.
Like the interesting thing about the Ravens Steelers game is that Chris Boswell scores all of the Steelers points. All 18 of them came from the kicker, and that is interesting. That's a high number that you actually win the game because of your kicker. Like Steelers offense has yet to find their footing and their consistency, and now, I mean, we had that one really good game of Russ, but since then we had a game where he didn't look so great, and now he just couldn't get it into the end zone at all. And it makes you question, was benching Justin Fields while he was actively winning the right move? Like, because it looked like it was the right move for 1 week.
Well, I'll give him 2 weeks, but let's be honest, Mark. Here's the real thing that I saw is if you look at where they were faltering, Mark, they were faltering in the red zone. In I've listened to a lot of Steelers fans, Mark. You know we got them all up and down in our Madden league and everything. And one consistent thing that I've heard from all of the Steelers fans that they wanted to see was they wanted to see red zone packages for Justin Fields because they felt like he gave them a better chance within the red zone, and they trust him to operate there, right? Based off of what he's been able to do this season. And what I saw was Russell Wilson struggling in the red zone. And if you know anything about Russell Wilson, this is not new. This is not a new problem. Where Russell Wilson thrives is broken plays. You know, he's going to hit you with that 40-yard bomb like he did to Pickens the other day. He's going to hit you with that. Don't let him scramble outside the pocket. He get outside that pocket and he's able to extend the play. That's where he's most dangerous. It's hard to do that when you're up against the goal line, man. And it seemed like Russ was having issues in the red zone. And I honestly watched that game and felt like Justin Fields would have done a better job there. But yes, it does allow the question to come up as to, was it a bit early? Was it the right move? But honestly, they won the game. Nobody's going to really say it. But I'm going to tell you right now for myself, Mark, I'm going to be watching that situation.
Right. All right. I just want to put this out there for you guys that were watching NBA. Cleveland is on historic streak. They have won 15 straight. They have yet to take a loss. Yes, have yet to take a loss this season, but they are currently on their way to their first loss. The score is 81-63. Boston is up. It is in the third quarter with 6 minutes left. All right, back to football. Yeah, man. It's very interesting. And another thing about that Steelers Ravens game is that the Ravens faltered to the Steelers yet again, and the common thought is that the Ravens just can't get it done against the Steelers. Well, I say when you play like idiots, yeah, you absolutely will not get it done against the Steelers. The Ravens give the ball to Derrick Henry 13 times. The Derrick Henry that's averaging like 7 yards a carry each and every game. That Derrick Henry.
You talking about the leading rusher in the NFL, Derrick Henry?
Well, not anymore. Not now that he got 13 carries. He's not anymore. But you know.
But this is what I'll tell you straight up, Mark. I'll tell you what my game plan wouldn't be. My game plan wouldn't be to drop back and throw the ball a bunch of times, knowing that T.J. Watt is on the other side, and knowing that the way that Highsmith been playing on the outside too, you have to double one of these guys, and one of those guys is going to beat the one-on-one. Like, let's be honest, the Ravens' offensive line ain't what it used to be. Look, man, you absolutely cannot say, hey, look, we're going to throw the ball 40 times against T.J. Watt. There's just certain guys you can't do that against, man. Like, even if you take away Derrick Henry being in that backfield, the game plan still should have been to run the ball. But it's an absolute travesty that they did not run the ball, because guess what? Maybe I'll look it up next week, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to bet there's probably a crazy stat out there about Derrick Henry running the ball 20 times throughout his career. there's probably an even crazier stat, which I can tell you right now. I don't have to look it up. I already know it. They haven't lost a game this year. The Ravens haven't lost a game this year where Derrick Henry had 20 carries. I know that for sure. I don't have to look it up. I know it to be true. It's weird when you have all this data that says this. You see it with your own eyes when he's breaking for big runs in the fourth quarter late in the game to save your ass in multiple games. It's crazy when you have your eyes and the data matching up and you still decide to go another direction. So
Hey,
which
man.
brings, I have
Yeah.
a question for you, Mark. And I want you to think about this, and I'm going to reference the Eagles situation as well. Do you think in certain situations this season that there's a concerted effort of organizations to try to prop up their QBs? And the reason why I mentioned the Eagles is because we all know what's happening over there with Saquon. Saquon ain't allowed to get no touchdowns, okay? It's all Jalen Hurts right now, you know? Them QB stats are looking real nice, Mark. Do you think, but more so, I want you to answer the question about the Ravens. Do you think this is part of a concerted effort to make sure that Lamar Jackson earns his third MVP?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer. This is all sports politics, in my opinion. And this is the problem with the Ravens. This is why they're 7-3 or whatever they are right now. They have unnecessary losses on their record, and it's all because they are too worried about the sports politics and the media and the rollout than being worried about winning games. Win the game. Running backs ain't sexy, but running backs win the game. Run the ball.
Here's a thought. I'm gonna say this very clearly, right? I understand for an organization that QB being the face equals money. I'm not gonna deny you that. But you know, it's also an interesting point, Mark. When your QB, forget winning the MVP, when your QB wins a Super Bowl, that's a different type of money, right? It's the kind of money that you earn that makes you pay Joe Flacco $50 million a year and break the bank, right?
But this is the problem. This is a longer conversation, and you already know that this will get me started on a whole nother tangent about how
I'm gonna finish my point when you're done. But go ahead. Yeah.
How QBs ruin franchises once they win. But here's the thing. Derrick Henry is the heart and soul of that team currently, but they're going to prop up Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's having a great year, so like we're going to throw the ball, blah 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 blah. And nobody's going to question it. But meanwhile, he's only having a great year because teams fear Derrick Henry. When you take away that fear, now they can lock in on Lamar and lock in on his passing. You make it easy for him, and that's more or less what the Ravens did for the Steelers. They made it easier for them. They was like, hey man, you don't have to worry about Derrick Henry. We'll take him out the game for you. And that's what happened.
Yeah, so this is what I'm gonna do for you, Mark, and I'm gonna be very clear about this, which is gonna sound really crazy, right? I'm gonna give you a few examples, and I just want you to answer the question honestly. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when the defense and the kicker won that first Super Bowl for the Patriots versus the Rams, who did they talk about winning that Super Bowl?
Thomas?
Yeah, Tom Brady. They talk about Tom Brady. When the Ravens went to the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer and Jamal Lewis had a 100-yard game. Ray Lewis went crazy. The defense went crazy, and people were talking about how there should be an MVP for the entire defense and make it unprecedented. Somebody said that Jamal Lewis should be the MVP. When all these things happened and they were deliberating over that, ended up being Ray Lewis. What do they say? They say Trent Dilfer was good enough. He did a good enough job to get to win a Super Bowl, right? That's what they talk about. I know I answered that one for you, but I just wanted to get that out there. Okay, my last example, because this is the even better example. It's a perfect example. When Terrell Davis was running for 2,000 yards and putting the team on his back and setting records that still haven't been broken today for rushing yards throughout the playoffs and having a 200-yard rushing game in the playoffs and all these different things. When they won back-to-back Super Bowls, did they mention Terrell Davis or did they remember Elway?
That was Elway. But I don't even think that's the best example. But okay.
But that's that's the most dominant running back performance throughout an entire playoffs that we've seen, and that's the reason why I use that example. And when you watch those games, it wasn't John Elway doing nothing. But what a point is, it doesn't matter how good a running back plays. It doesn't matter how good a wide receiver plays. It doesn't matter how good the defense plays, Mark. Your quarterback is always going to get propped up. You're still going to be able to use the quarterback to make that money that you're trying to make right now in the regular season by not handing the running back the ball. So my question is you're saying to me, it's like they're trying to make it a money move, Mark. But the real money move is to go out and win the Super Bowl. And your quarterback still gets to be the face no matter who wins the Super Bowl for you.
All right. Okay, real quick. I just need to break into action real quick. Cleveland's Boston game is a slobber knocker. Don't turn us off. Just put them on in the side corner somewhere. Because just 4 minutes ago, when I reported that score of
81-66, right?
Almost a 20-point deficit.
Yeah.
The score is now 85-80.
That's crazy.
With 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
So that means they went on a 14-4 run. Then, it's pretty good.
Cleveland has rallied and they have closed the gap.
Do you want me to speak my? You know what? I'll say I can speak my opinion right now on the Cleveland situation.
Man, the game
I'm going to keep it short. There are certain teams that are built for the regular season, and that does not mean that they are built for the postseason. I feel like they are the new age Atlanta Hawks. When Atlanta had Coach Bud and they was winning all the regular season games and finishing first and second, that's what it feels like to me. I don't know if what they're doing right now translates to the playoffs.
Well, we'll certainly find out, won't we? All right.
We will. But for right now, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. Well, look, man, and just like that, the score is 84-86 with a minute left in the third. So, yeah.
Nice.
All right, back to the recap. In any of the games that let's talk about the Eagles real quick. Eagles versus Washington.
Before you get there, let me just answer this question real quick. Okay. Taylor Sports says, Sean, I totally agree, but is there a LeBron James in the Eastern Conference? There's a Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference, and they're a completely stacked team. They play defense, they play offense. That's what they have right now. They don't have a LeBron James. What they have is the equivalent of a stacked Lakers team in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so yeah, want to get into the Eagles real quick, and then we're going to get into the 49ers. And if there's any other teams that you guys would like to talk about, you guys need to speak up, because those are the last two games that we're going to cover in this recap.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles versus Washington. I want to talk about this simply from the standpoint that we finally had had a good matchup, had a team that has been winning games and a team that has looked good. Now, this is something we can rest our hat on when it comes to the defense and how they looked to a degree. Now, the Eagles, they look good. They look good defensively. Keon Mitchell, he the man. Him. He's definitely better than Christian Gonzalez. Rob,
you seen Robert pop up and you felt like you got to pop your shit. Go ahead, man.
Hey,
Go
man.
ahead.
I just want to let Rob know that Keon is the only NFL cornerback with 375 plus snaps and 0 passing TDs.
Looks like you lost another one.
0 passing TDs with 375 plus snaps played. No one. He is the new Revis Island. He is the new island. Currently, he's the new island. Like, Doug, currently, he's the new island. Nobody is allowed to do anything on him. Doug, they were trying to look at Terry McLaurin and couldn't do nothing with him. The only catches that Terry had was when Keon wasn't there. Like, defensively, the Eagles put on a show against Washington, and I'm proud of them for that because I don't really bank. Hey, no, you clearly don't watch these games if you say he gets safety help. That, like, you're clearly not watching these games and the coverage that he's playing because that's far from what's happening in these situations, Rob.
See, I'm glad I'm here to mediate this shit because this is getting out of control on both sides. I'm gonna be honest with you, Mark. That's fine. You put a little extra sauce on it. I understand why. I'm not even gonna hold you, but you're not Revis Island. Well, you're not. No, real quick. You're not Revis Island. There's a couple things that have to happen for you to be Revis Island. They have to still test you. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see them really testing Mitchell. Revis Island was Revis Island for a reason because even in the event that they knew Revis Island existed, there were still teams that were going out there and testing it. And guess what? He was just playing amazing coverage. Okay,
that's exactly what's happening. Do I need to pull up? Hey, I'm gonna just cut you off and say, do I need to pull up Keon's stats of when he's actually tested and how often these people are touching the ball?
I'm trying to tell you what I saw. This is a bad example using the Washington game because I saw plays where McLaurin had separation, but Jaden Daniels was not in the position to get him the ball.
Also,
that's what I'm going to tell you. That was a terrible.
We could also say that you saw a split second where there was a bit of separation, and that separation wasn't big enough for Jaden to want to pull the trigger. It was small enough that he hesitated and missed the window.
What I'm saying is a rookie QB would hesitate. If that was Matt Stafford, that would be a completed pass.
Hey, guess what? Joe Burrow didn't hesitate.
Yeah, well, look,
Joe Burrow didn't hesitate, and Jamar Chase didn't do shit. Jamar Chase didn't do shit. So what?
Let's be very clear, Mark. Revis is the season. Revis Island is the season. Are you telling me this is the second best or the first best season you've ever seen from a cornerback? You calling it Revis Island? Is it the first or second best season that you've seen from a cornerback?
That's a lot because
if you're gonna call it Revis Island, Mark, then that's what it has to be. Okay,
no, but I'm calling it. Well, sure. You want me to say lockdown? You want me to say lockdown? I'll call it Pelican Bay. I'll call it Pelican Bay. I don't care what you call it. I'll call it strap. I'll call it straps. I don't care what you want to call it.
Straps is not Revis Island.
I don't care what you call it.
There's levels to this, Mark.
I don't care what you call it.
Richard Sherman was a phenomenal corner. He ain't Deion Sanders. We gotta separate these. You can't just. If I were to call Richard Sherman Deion Sanders, that'd be crazy. No disrespect to.
If I was to say calling him Deion Sanders versus saying he's having a Deion Sanders like performance, It's different things.
No. See, you didn't say a Revis Island light. You said he is Revis Island.
I'm saying he is
Revis
Revis Island
now,
for
Mark.
this season. For right now, I said for right now. This is what it looks like.
No, what it looks like to me, Mark. This is closer to a Richard Sherman season. This is closer to a Champ Bailey season. This is closer to a lot of guys who are phenomenal, great players that are Hall of Famers, Mark. You don't have to invoke Revis's name. Don't do what everybody else does with the Jordan thing.
Well,
he's the next Jordan. No,
I didn't say he's the next Jordan. I never said. Listen, I don't even. If I was to compare him to a corner, it wouldn't be Darrelle Revis. I don't respect Darrelle Revis, so it would never be Darrelle Revis or anything Darrelle Revis related.
Don't call it Revis Island. That's all I'm asking.
All I'm going to say is Darrelle Revis. I think you have Revis Island too high in your echelon. Revis Island is way too high in your echelon. I don't even think it's. I think it's a great name, like being Moss. It's a great name, but that's not the pinnacle. Moss ain't the pinnacle. But but you say Moss, like that's it's the same shit. It's the same shit.
Moss. But with that said, Mark, let's be honest. You can say it's not the pinnacle. Are you talking about play for a season, or are you talking about player? Because you're speaking about a season that somebody's having, and that's why I'm talking about season. You want to talk pinnacle for a season? Revis Island is the barometer. If you're talking about pinnacles for career, then it's not. That's very simple. It's two separate things, Mark. Other people weren't able to have that pinnacle because other people weren't having their primes against. They didn't have their primes in one season where they faced Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, T.O., Chad Johnson. Like, he just had the schedule that allowed it to happen, okay? I'm not telling you that Deion couldn't.
You mean the schedule? You mean the schedule like Keon is having? The schedule where he's going up against elite receivers, great receivers, receivers that people consider great, and they're
Mark. Receivers that people consider great versus facing two of the top three receivers of all time, to include Calvin Johnson, who some would say was the most dominant receiver they've ever seen.
They wouldn't say that at the time. At the time that season happened, they weren't saying that. So that's neither here nor there.
When you face three of the top four receivers of all time, Mark, that's different than you're facing great receivers that people say are great. It's different.
Were they saying that at the time? Were they considering Calvin Johnson one of the greatest receivers of all time at the time? Absolutely not. So let's no.
Calvin Johnson was still Calvin Johnson. Don't do that.
No, he was Calvin Johnson, and Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. Terry McLaurin is Terry McLaurin.
Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase, and Terry McLaurin is Terry McLaurin. After we're talking about Calvin Johnson, is crazy. But go ahead, Mark. I'm gonna let you finish. You know what? I'm out of this. You clearly have made up your mind.
Be out of it, because guess what? You and your team is trash.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You know,
we definitely need a moderator.
Saying a lot of blasphemous things.
We definitely need a moderator. See, this is why we need a moderator. I said we need a moderator, and he keep going.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you would mute me. But like I said, you're saying a lot of blasphemous things in the name of Eagles fanhood. I want you to remember that when your team lets you down. They don't have the same thing.
Listen. I'm not. This has nothing to do with the team. Keon is just playing great. Keon himself can play great without the team, and the team do a bunch of nonsense. Now, when you show me plays where Keon starts giving up TDs on some dumb stuff, then that's a different thing. Then you can say when Keon specifically starts letting me down, because I'm boasting of Keon, nothing else. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying is, you're telling me he's having a Hall of Fame like season.
I'm saying, 375 plus snaps with
as good as Revis was, the highlight of his career was Revis Island, and you're calling this Revis Island. I just think it's weird.
That's fine. Rodgers back and have Deshaun still play the slot, or they absolutely
I like
man.
Dijon in the spot too.
I like Dejon in the slot. You got Sydney.
He gets active.
I don't think you need to re-sign Rodgers to have Deshaun in the slot. I mean, well, actually, yes, we probably do re-sign Rodgers because Slay. We need to let go of Slay to answer that. Uh,
Hmm.
Rob. All right. In all seriousness, Rob, I'm going to have to just have a real conversation with you. Anybody that's
Slay?
paying anybody that's paying attention absolutely knows that you're talking nonsense by saying he's benefiting from Slay being on the other side. Are you talking about 2 years ago? Talking
I
about
think he's trying to get you to trash your own teammate, your own team. That's what he's trying to get. He's trying to get you to trash players on the team. He
oh
knows that Slay ain't playing.
you don't gotta get me to do anything. Slay's trash. But anyway,
Rob, why you pretend like you don't know football, Rob? Don't do that. You trying to defend Gonzo. I get it. Why you doing that? Why you pretend like you don't know what Slay's out there? Don't do
yeah.
that.
But listen, like I was saying, man, we do absolutely need a moderator. One of you guys want to be the moderator for this? Go ahead and hit us up. Send us your resume. But
Yeah, man. We could do a dry run, all that stuff, man. Whatever.
but anyway,
Somebody got to check the egos are out here.
yeah. Yeah, the guy that kept talking about it.
Yeah.
That guy.
Revis Island in Philadelphia. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, moving on but to get back to the point, and now I got to make it very short. The Eagles had a phenomenal game defensively. Um, Meanwhile, offensively, like every other game, it sputtered in the beginning. They missed field goals and things of that nature. This certain things has to change for the Eagles offensively, because come playoff time, I don't think you can. I don't think you can go the first quarter slow rolling it, hoping to catch up second, third, and fourth. I don't think you have to figure this out. Whatever your opening script is, throw that away. Throw the opening script away, Eagles. Because your opening script seems to fail just about every week. Just so who's ever drawing up the opening script, stop. Because you don't start getting good until you get rid of all the opening plays. But anyway, Eagles continue to win, and Niners continue to lose. So tell us about your Niners.
Yes, but go crazy transition. I mean, it's factual, but let's do talk about the Niners. So where do I start? Let's just start with. Remember, you asked me going into this week. You asked me last episode. You said, "Hey, man, do you think would you be worried? Would it be a high concern of yours if you guys were to lose this game versus the Seahawks?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said I would be less concerned about this than if we lost to the Cardinals or the Rams. We've had our issues with the Seahawks. We usually split with the Seahawks. This would be different than no other season. I would be more concerned with them losing some other games. You know what, Mark? After the game, I'm not even concerned that we lost the game. I'm more concerned in the manner of fashion that we lost it. So I did not think I would be saying that today, but I am. So let's get into it. Yo, what's going on right now, right? The biggest issue that I've seen is the second they said, hey, man, since Nick Bosa left the game, all of a sudden the Seahawks are down and they're scoring. We couldn't generate pressure to save our lives, Mark. And then we're relying on our young secondary, because everybody's hurt. We're relying on the young secondary to go out there and get the job done. And shout out to Geno Smith. Geno was clutch, man. He was putting together those drives, right? I'm not gonna take nothing away from him. And there's There's a guy that covers the Niners. He's on YouTube. He's also a reporter, Krug. He brought it up immediately after the game. He said the whole time, everybody, all the Niners fans was begging for us to make a move before the trade deadline. We specifically cited that we usually every single year we go out and we get a pass rusher to be opposite of Nick Bosa. We went and got D Ford one year. We got Leonard Floyd and Chase Young the year before. We always go and get somebody, Mark, and every time we do, it legitimately patches up the defensive line enough to where it works. This is the first year that we haven't went and got a pass rusher, Mark. And people were saying this might be a problem for us because we need depth at the outside pass rusher position. We got all this depth at DT. We don't got no depth at defensive end. What happens? Nick Bosa is playing the most percentage of snaps that he's played for his entire time with being the Niners this year. Okay? And all of a sudden he gets hurt. What a surprise. We're overusing him. And then immediately the game is lost right afterwards. So yes, I'm disappointed in the way that we lost because we also absolutely laid down. I feel like, and Mark, I know you're not really a fan of the Niners, but I think even you can admit we ain't playing with the same swagger that we once were. I called it false confidence, right? I called it being overconfident. We don't seem overconfident right now, man. And that's the bigger issue that I have with this loss, man. We look like we're lost on defense. Fred Warner went from looking like superhuman in the first beginning parts of the season to now looking lost on certain plays and not being able to make any plays. Nick Bosa, go figure. Nick Bosa, it's weird. It's been up and down. He's been looking like he's been getting a lot of pressure and playing well. And then the next game, he's invisible. But this is a better season this year from Nick Bosa than we had from last year. Point being is everything is broken right now, Mark. Because guess what? In past, defense didn't play, offense would get us out of it. Offense wouldn't play right, defense would get us out of it. Every time we've lost a game this year, Mark, both the defense and the offense have been collapsing. Okay. Not only could we not score, but we could not stop Seattle from scoring. And so my first thought goes to Kyle Shanahan having at one point the second leading rusher in the league in Jordan Mason. And we got CMC back, and CMC does not look 100%. And he's just saying, screw it, we're not letting nobody else touch the ball. So we had Jordan Mason looking good, Garendo looking good. You would think he'd mix it up with this dude coming off of an Achilles injury, Mark. And he's just saying, screw it. And we're not even going to do no smoke and mirrors. We just run CMC straight up the middle, man. So Kyle Shanahan's play calling has been abysmal late in games, second halves, and it's really showing. It's really showing right now. And also, it seems to be that we don't have anybody in an entire organization right now. If you count the DC, you count any defensive players on the side, I feel like nobody can motivate our defense to step up. And right now, I'm starting to feel like the loss of Dre Greenlaw is being felt because Fred Warner is not a fiery person. He's not even a person that speaks. He's quiet. We don't have that fiery personality on the defense. And right now, Mark, I'm going to be honest with you. We might not make the playoffs. We might not make the playoffs this year because it doesn't seem like we have a plan.
Well.
Yeah, Kyle is stuck in this way.
Well. All right. Maybe we should go back to the beginning of the season. To some episodes in the beginning of the season. I believe I mentioned, or even halfway through the season at some point, but I do believe I mentioned at some point that your team is cooked. I believe I said it before. I know I said it to you personally, but I believe I said it on the podcast at some point that I believe that your team is cooked. I believe that your team is cooked because at some point, the personalities and all that all that has to come to a head at some point, and I believe that's what we're seeing now. I don't think you said that you don't have any fiery personalities on defense. I just don't. I think you have too many fiery personalities. Period. On the team, I think the team has too many varying, unstable personalities, and there's not a stabilizing force of a personality to guide this team.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you're looking at now is that the team is you're not together. You're not one band, one sound. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Well, let me put it this way, Mark. I think there's truth to what you're saying, but I'll put it this way. If we didn't have all these injuries, we wouldn't be able to see it. And because of we have all these injuries, let's be honest, Mark, you have the vets, which sounds weird calling them the vets, but that's what they are. The guys that have been part of the Kyle Shanahan era from the beginning that were drafted by Kyle Shanahan, you have the vets. And then you have everybody else, especially the young people, and the way that Kyle treats the young people, the way that you see these guys go out every off season, and it's always just a little small group. The vets have separated themselves from everybody else. It was cool when all the vets are there and they're all healthy and they're all starting. It's not. It becomes a problem now when you need these guys to band together and lead the younger generation through situations that they never been in. Mustafa is a rookie. He's out there playing phenomenal right now. He's a rookie. He don't know what it's like to play in these games versus the Seahawks. He don't know what it's like to play in the playoff atmosphere. We have too many young guys right now being forced to step up and not enough leadership to guide them in the way. So you're right. The second that we lost all these players, it becomes visible. The sad thing, Mark, is I would hope that this would let somebody know, hey, we need to fix this. Because the way it's always happened is we lose a guy here, we lose a guy here. It doesn't matter. It's not a big enough chunk gone for us to really address an issue of leadership within the players on the team. Now it's finally, we've lost enough players to where now it actually is a visible issue that's existed the entire time. And it seems like there's nothing being done about it.
right. Hey, man. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how it's all unfolding. You guys look like you are having the Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
So, and some teams recover from the Super Bowl hangover. Some teams do not. And you guys are on the tail end of most of your better players' career, particularly on offense. You know, Deebo doesn't look quite the same. CMC obviously was already somewhat injury prone, but this last injury seems very scary. And they saying like, oh, he got some special new stuff, but we'll see how that plays out towards the end. But with his age and everything, that doesn't look like it's going to be the greatest. And I mean, you have guys like Jordan Mason and stuff like that, but like Matthew said, like you said, Kyle is stuck in his ways, and Kyle doesn't seem like he wants to let the young talent drive the car.
He absolutely does not. And I think that's going to be our downfall, Mark, because the way I look at it is we could absolutely retool.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best draft class that we've had. And I don't even know how long. From first round all the way to the seventh round, everybody's doing a really good job. They've all been called upon, and they're doing great. So it's there for us to retool, but it's probably not going to happen because Kyle ain't going to move on from the old guard, and Kyle is absolutely not, like you said, he's not giving them the keys. So what I see happening to us is we're going to have a couple of years back to back where we're not going to be a contender of any sorts until Kyle decides to actually invest in the younger generation.
I mean, he did that. Interestingly enough, he did that the same. He did the same thing that you guys' first year against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl with under Kyle, which was
Mhm.
who was the running back from Atlanta that he just he just kept giving carries to, even though the other guy,
Trying to remember his name right now.
uh,
Um,
shoot,
because I know Devontae Freeman was the other guy that he was with in Atlanta. I'm trying to remember who this guy's name was.
dang, you don't even know your own team. That's why.
Oh, you're
But
talking about the dude that was injured for an entire season, and then Kyle brought him in for the Super Bowl, and
yes,
then he was injured for the next season, and then he was injured for the next season. You talking about that guy? Is the reason why I don't remember his name. Mark, he wasn't there. That's quick. Have you ever seen? Sorry, he took a dude that was injured the entire season and brought him back for the Super Bowl to start.
yep.
I don't want. I don't. You know what? I was gonna look up his name. I don't even want to look up his name no more, Mark. Come on.
Maybe Matt knows his name, but anyway, um, we're gonna move on if you guys don't have anything
I
else.
don't even know why you opened that wound up again, man. I don't even know why you did that, March. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm bitter about you. I'm bitter about you shitting on my comment about Keon. So
Hey, look, I gave that man all the props in the world, all the way up to this point. You made me this way.
no. But anyway, getting things back to Philly, and B losing to Father Time in a weird way. I like that title. That was good on you. Sean created that title, people. But Joel Embiid, Joel Embiid is being called out by his teammates. Apparently, Kyle Lowry had a team meeting yesterday in the wake of the 76ers being 2-11 so far this season. They had a team meeting already, and in that team meeting, Tyrese Maxey, the young star of the team, called out veteran Joel Embiid for always being late to team activities and it having a negative effect on the team and the players. And that's there is nothing else to say about that. But when you look at how things are going down with the 76ers, in this team, when you look at how Joel Embiid pretty much declared he's not going to play back-to-backs, and then we have a quote-unquote new star on the team in Paul George. Don't see him play, but then again, that probably wasn't a smart move to go get him in the first place. But you're watching the 76ers fall apart, and it's not like they ever really truly had it all together. But they had a star that looked good, looked great, looked phenomenal at times, except for when it came down to the playoffs and it was time for him to get hurt and disappear. Now, Joel Embiid is hurt. He's not playing back-to-back games, and he's not even doing the little things like showing up on time for team activities. More and more, the Sixers are looking like a poverty franchise. I've always believed this myself, but fans of the Sixers are starting to look at the Sixers as a poverty franchise.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is the weird thing about what you're saying about them looking like a poverty franchise is they're different from the other poverty franchises. The other poverty franchises are intentionally being poverty franchises, like the Detroit Pistons and let's be honest, the Charlotte Hornets. Their whole thing is we don't even care if we win. Just give us one half of a star and we'll rock with that so we can sell merchandise and sell tickets a little bit. We don't have no plans of winning, right? It's weird that the Sixers are that, but yet it seems as if, their efforts are terrible, but it seems as if they're actually trying. They believe that they're trying to put together a championship squad. And here's what I was going to say to you, Mark, because I just thought about it. Did you know that part of the process was going to be drafting a bunch of guys, acquiring a bunch of guys, and then immediately when you notice that they care about basketball, getting rid of them? Did you know that? You know it was going to be part of the process? Because I really look back on it and I think of everybody that they had on their team that they should not have given away. They were guys that enjoyed playing basketball and had a passion for it. And then it was almost like we're way too serious about this. We need you up out of here. You're ruining the vibes in here. The way they did Jimmy Butler, right? So now you have Embiid, the guy who really don't got that love for it. You know what I'm saying? Everything that he does not have that love for it. Paul George, as great as he is, he do not have that love for it. You guys excuse me, I don't want to say you guys, Mark, my bad. They went out and they got James Harden for a while. Another guy that just doesn't seem to enjoy playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? He's not locked in, you know? And it just feels like every time you ignore every time they ignore a player's will to play their desire to play the basketball game, you know, the game of basketball. Every time they ignore it, the team gets worse. Now, did I think they're going to start off 2-11? Absolutely not, Mark. But it's weird how everybody said, oh, maybe Embiid was saying it in jest that he ain't playing back-to-backs. Well, I can tell you this right now, Mark. He ain't played a back-to-back yet.
And he hasn't looked great in the one game or whatever that he played. So
yeah, it seems like, I know I'm breaking it down to a simplest term, but I feel like that makes a difference. You can say what you want about Jokic, and it might seem like he doesn't enjoy playing basketball, but if you look at the brand of basketball that he plays, Mark, he's very unselfish. He don't even like scoring, but he will do it because he likes to win. There's a competitive nature there that exists. So yes, Jokic does enjoy playing basketball, and you can see it in his game. Like the Sixers will forever lose, Mark, until they start valuing passionate players who put in the work in the off season and during the season to be better.
well, just to say this, the Sixers don't value passion, period.
No, they don't.
The Sixers organization, starting with the president, does not value passion, period. He only values the dollar. And so this situation where they are looking the worst that they have been ever since they've gotten Joel Embiid on this team. And when you look at it and you say, well, everything that's going on with this team, this couldn't be happening at a worse time. This is happening at a time where you guys may not know this, but currently the Sixers are at City Hall having public hearings about their potential move from South Philadelphia, where all of our sports arenas are in the same location, to them possibly moving to Center City, right in the middle of downtown, right in the middle of traffic and everything. They are having public hearings to see if they could get approved for that. They already have the backing of the mayor, and they are trying to make the next steps by going through the council, and then it was like through SEPTA and things of that nature. But here's the problem: your public facing is looking worse and worse. You need your team to be winning for you to have the public's support. The public already doesn't want you downtown. Majority of the public doesn't want you downtown, because majority of the public does not care to travel downtown to watch a basketball game. You think it's cool because what you really want is real estate in a really tall building downtown that the city will help pay for, the owner. So you're just using this arena as a way of getting that done. I can see through that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can see through that.
Yeah.
But this can't be happening at a worse time for you because now the team is losing, and you want to move into an area where most of the citizens of Philadelphia do not want you to be there. And so it's bad on most fronts. The owner needs the team to be winning right now, and they're looking like a poverty franchise. And what's worse than a poverty franchise that people know? There's nothing worse than a team that nobody wants to see being smack dab in the middle of downtown Philly, costing you a lot of money and not making you very much of it.
Yeah, let's be honest, Mark. Let's talk fanhood real quick, man. I love to go. I would love to go to a million games, right? It starts to. I don't because of inconveniences. Inconveniences like price, inconveniences like traveling, inconveniences like traffic. Okay, that's what stops fans from going to games, bro. And if you're making it inconvenient for me to go to the game now, on top of the team being absolute ass, then I would be willing to fight through traffic if I thought my team was exciting and if I thought that my team had a chance to make a deep playoff run. I want to be a part of history, right? You know, but those are the things that get me through driving through that traffic. Those are the things that say, okay, I can purchase a $150, $200 ticket. But I ain't paying that kind of money to go see y'all stink up the place, Mark. So, like you said, terrible timing. Your team is not good. And you're talking about making it inconvenient for people to go see the team play. You think this is absolutely not a money move, Mark. It's lose money. So if you're not here to make money, Mark, you should be here to win. And right now, the moves that they're making is going to have them losing money, losing games and money. So, yeah, I feel bad for the fans of Philadelphia. Hopefully somebody gets in there and it gets better. But it seems to me that just judging off of the things that you've been talking about here, Mark, and over the past couple of years, unless there's a change in ownership, this is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers lifestyle for a while.
Yeah. Now listen, one thing that's not losing money, or some people that didn't lose money, is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson has fleeced everyone out of. Well, actually, they didn't fleece anyone out of their hard-earned money because if you had a Netflix subscription already, you was going to watch it.
At this point, everybody has Netflix, Mark.
So the only people that they fleeced out of their money was Netflix themselves, and the people that showed up to the arena thinking that they were going to watch a fight. But that's not what happened, is it, Sean? We watched that Mike Tyson bout, and we saw absolutely nothing. I saw Mike Tyson's left glove got more fight action than anything else.
Fight action? Fight action. My bad. Excuse me. Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
His mouth guard got more action than anything else I've seen. Dog, this dude was biting on his. Apparently, this is a tick he's always had, but for some reason, maybe when you're not throwing punches, it's the first time I'm noticing it.
It seemed like it was the first time everybody was noticing it.
Yeah, it's it was this is something he always does or something. Since when? I've never seen it, but all right. And then the interesting thing I thought about this was that it seemed by the time they got to this fight that the commentators had a script that they were working off of. It seemed like they had a script that was trying to drive home the point. Hey, Mike Tyson's old. That's why he's not throwing punches. He's old. He's tired. See, that's why he's not throwing punches. That script kept getting drove home. Meanwhile, if you guys were to go watch video or go rewatch the fight, you would see instances where Mike Tyson had the clean shot to Jake Paul, and he just pulled back the trigger. Like it was going to land, and it was going to land flush, and it was going to hurt. And then he pulled back the trigger and didn't shoot. And it's very odd for someone who thought that this was a real fight to see. Now, for me, I was just like, okay, yeah, about right.
We tried to warn y'all last week, man. We tried to, man. What did I tell you? I already know what it's gonna be, but I'm still gonna watch it for that off 1% chance. You know.
I purposely have not been talking about this fight like consistently because I never believed this to be anything of note. Never once did I say, hey, you know what? I think this is going to be a real thing. Not once.
Never.
So,
Why would I believe that this was going to be a real fight when none of Jake Paul's fights have been real fights? It's very simple. It was very easy to figure this out, Mark. What you think the one real fight that Jake is trying to have is versus Mike Tyson? Absolutely not. Mark, if I was going to pick a real fight, I would have picked Tyreek Hill. I would have picked anybody. I'm not picking Mike Tyson to be my real fight.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, John, I'm going to need you to chill out, bro. you talk about, you knew what it was when he got beat up by Roy Jones. You're gonna still stand on that. I see you still standing on business. That's good for you. You're dead wrong, but that's fine. You can stand on that if you want to. I appreciate your ability to stand up for what you believe.
All right, I'm gonna
believe in unicorns. That's cool.
I'm gonna show you guys the video exactly what I'm talking about in this instance where Mike Tyson had the clean shot and did not take it. And there's other such videos, but this is just one example of.
Show on the video. Show on the footage.
Look,
Jake Paul racist, man. Hey. The way he moved his hand, Mark, there is no way he would have been able to do that. That was a clean right hook, man. Come on.
And he just pulls his hand away. But yeah, that's the type of fight that we all signed up to watch. That's what we saw. It wasn't what we wanted to see. Everybody wants to see Jake Paul go down, but the problem is, and the reason why you will not see Jake Paul go down is because once Jake Paul goes down, then he stops making money in this fashion. Then once he goes down, you stop watching. The only reason why you watch currently is to see him go down.
Yeah, well, what I was gonna say, man, this is one thing I will give Jake Paul credit for, which I hate to give him credit for anything, Mark. I can tell you without a doubt who the is. Clearly, it's Mayweather. All right. Mayweather understood. People are coming here to watch me lose. I'm gonna make a bunch of money off of people hoping that I get knocked out. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's what Jake Paul is leaning into. He is leaning into the fact that people are coming to watch him get knocked out. Let's be honest. It would have taken a lot of steam off of the pay-per-views if Mayweather would have got knocked out at some point. Jake Paul understands that. Jake Paul said, I'm going to make sure it don't happen. I'm going to put it in a contract. It's very simple. Hey, you know what? I can't finish any more thoughts after that. John, you're a wild boy. Mike said everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. He felt Jake's power. It's a weird thing, freedom of speech, Mark. You know what I'm saying? We have to respect the opinions of others, even opinions like this one.
Hey, man, I feel you, but this is just one of those things, man. I'm glad that Mike made some money. Mike,
I am too. Get your bag. If you're gonna go out there and humiliate yourself, at least get paid for it. I'm not a fan of getting paid for humiliation, but I am a fan of people getting paid.
But I will say this: Mike Tyson is one of the most Mike Tyson and Jameis Winston are the most unintentionally funny people on the face of this planet. Like, they don't mean to be funny, but they are absolutely hilarious. Like, Mike Tyson, when like with the old line that's absolutely wild and ridiculous today, but when you look back on it and you have if it was a comedy skit, you would laugh. Where he's being interviewed by a woman and he says,
I knew that's where you
"I
were
don't."
going.
He says, "I don't do interview with women unless we fornicate first. So unless you're here to fornicate." Like,
And it was just like, okay, I guess that's the end of the interview. It was like, yeah, I guess so, man. Huh? hey, look, man.
and like going to this fight, he's at the weigh-ins in just his underwear. Day he like grabs a hold of his stuff and just stands there blankly, like face completely blank, void
Hey,
of anything.
I'll tell you this. This is my favorite one. See, you brought up the interview with the woman. My favorite one is, yeah, my back, it's broken, spinal. Hey, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to tell a lie, you want it to be believable, you got to give more details. Spinal. No, but let's be honest. Like, this is the crazy thing. He literally showed his ass for the money.
That was my third point. That was my third part. Whereas he's giving an interview with his son. Like, he's giving an interview with his son and he's talking and blah, 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 blah. Son is not really asking anything of import. But then when it's over, he walks away and his cheeks is out. like, nobody knows what to do with that. They're like, oh, okay. All right.
I felt like Mike was letting us know, man, ain't nothing serious about this, man. Look,
right.
Mike showed his ass, man. Literally. I don't know what else you want. I don't know what other proof you want, man. But I hope people. I guess the worst part about it is, even though I knew it was fake, Mark, I hope to be entertained by whatever script they had for the fight, and I was not. All right. If you're gonna be fake, if it's gonna be fake, at least have it be an entertaining fight. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't that. You know.
All right. Real quick, about the fight prior to that, you should have known. You should have known right then that none of this was real. Serrano won that fight hands down. Like, hands down, Serrano won that fight. She was beating the girl up, and in every which way. She had the numbers on the scorecard. She passed the eye test with what it looked like. She was the more aggressive fighter. And yet somehow none of that mattered when it came to the decision of who won the fight. The only way I could possibly say that they could give it to this girl is if they were scoring headbutts. Because that girl was headbutting the crap out of her eyebrow to the point that it was leaking all over the place. But so if they were scoring headbutts, then I understand why they gave it to Kate. But if you're not scoring headbutts, there's no way you should give it to Kate. And this is the problem. That's the problem with sports that are judged and not just going off of a scoring system. But
yeah,
I mean, but there's a give and take to it. But that is one of the problems with it, is because there's corruption in this, and that was clearly a corrupt decision.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The things that you learned about it right afterwards, is crazy. So she's fought her before.
Yes.
This is the second time that they fought.
Yes.
And clearly somebody was trying to set this up so that they can have a third fight. And that's why they ruled it the way that they did. Because apparently she beat her the first time. So now they try to set it up for a third fight. You know, that's the clear money grab. The other thing, Mark, is shout out to her coach, man. Shout out to him coming in the ring afterwards, doing the post-fight interview. He spoke his mind clearly and very unfiltered, in an unfiltered way. He said, "Look, man, she there's no way that she lost. Basically, you know what I'm saying? She landed more punches. Just for the record, Mark, 101 more. She landed 101 more punches than the other girl, the other lady. And then he said, "Look, man, he was out there headbutting. The ref was saying I'm doing all I can, but he really wasn't." And then he was like, he was like, "She's a beautiful lady, but she got a big ass head." Like,
You
like
know,
shout out to a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know
I was
what's
like,
crazy? The crazy thing is that girl, she was docked a point. She was docked a point and
yes,
somehow won that round in which she was docked a point.
which
How do you
is,
win a round in that you're docked a point?
hey, you know what's crazy? There's only one way to win a round in which you were docked a point.
If you get a knockdown.
Thank you. You have to clearly win the round and get the knockdown. It's the only way that you win that round. So like the fact that it wasn't a draw for that round is crazy. Like that's insane. I don't know how that works, but that's what happened. And that's what she said. Serrano said I lost 95-94 unanimously. Everybody
Mhm.
had it scored that way.
Right.
Um, yeah, even though she lost a round and I landed 101 more punches. So clear corruption, Mark. I hate when events like this happen because every single time, without a hitch, it reminds me why I stopped watching boxing for a while.
Hmm.
Yeah, every single
Well,
time.
one thing that wasn't corrupt, and this is our final piece, and I'm going to make this quick, is that John Jones remains the best UFC fighter in the world. John Jones delivers a spinning back kick directly to the ribs of Stipe, and Stipe crumbles like
That shit was
old,
nasty.
dusty clay left
Whew,
out
that
in
was
the sun.
nasty.
That's up. And yeah, man, the reason why this is going to be so short is because Stipe truly looked like he didn't have no business being in the ring with John. John clearly continued to get better and continued to work on his craft. Meanwhile, I'm not saying Stipe hasn't been working on his craft, but clearly it ain't sticking the way it's been sticking to John.
Yeah. Okay, I want to say something about John real quick, man. Everybody knows that he disappeared for like a 2 year period before he had his last fight, and because he was trying to take the move up a weight class very serious, right? And it proved to be valuable, right? I know people said he looked a little slower, he looked sluggish, all these different things. But those are things that are expected with somebody that is aging and getting bigger. So I didn't look at that and say that maybe he's washed. I never said that. I never looked at it that way. Um, you look at this fight with Stipe, although Stipe may have been working out, I don't think he was putting in as much work as John was. John don't do nothing but practice and do coke. You know what I'm saying? So, but with that said, Mark, what I've noticed from his last two performances, is that he's not training like he's 25, Mark. It seems as though that he is training in a way and coming into these fights with a game plan that recognizes that he is older and does recognize that he is heavier. He's not trying to do as much of the things that he was doing before. He's not. He's coming up with game plans that fit the level of his stamina, that fit the level of his fitness, that fit his age. And it's crazy saying this about a heavyweight that's been on top this long, but um, right now, Mark, if he's going to train this way for his future fights, like I just don't see, I could see him winning fights for the next 3 years. It's just one of those things where he is training properly for a man his age that just moved up a weight class, and I feel like that matters.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, man, that was greatly put. I like it. With that being said, man, John said he's happy to retire. Um, as he's happy to retire and relinquish the belt if need be. He says he has no desire to see to fight Tom Aspinall. He doesn't want to fight up and comers. He want to fight established champions.
Yeah.
There's logic in what he is saying, and he's like, dog, I want the big draw. Like, I'm not trying to fight some dude that nobody knows, and I'm not trying to make him a household name on my way out. I want a household name, and I want our collective names to make a bunch of money. I don't want to help somebody else make money off of my name. I want to make money. I want to make money with someone else.
Did you see the second part? Did you see the second part of what he was talking about with Tom? He said, So you saw it, but I'll say it for the people. He said, look, man, he's part of that new social media age, and he's doing all this stuff and talking crazy, and he was like, look, man, you don't got to do all that with me. You know what I'm saying? If you want to fight me, just challenge me. But when you start doing all the extra antics and all these other things and making a mockery of everything, and it feels disrespectful to me, then at this point, I don't even feel like I want to work with you at all. Well, and he was speaking beyond resume, beyond anything. He basically said it in a way to where it's like, even if you did have the resume, that would be a turn off.
Right. And John says he is selling the fight, but there's a chance that this is all just to sell the Tom Aspinall fight. But there's a good chance that it's not as well, because you look back on the antics of Izzy, because this is straight out of the Izzy playbook. Let me talk a bunch of trash to John and do all this stuff, and then because I'm talking to the best in the sport, and I'm talking crazy to the best in the sport, and I'm getting a response out of him, now my name rises, my popularity rises, and every fight that I do continues to grow. And from that, if I'm John, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, leave me alone. Like, leave me alone. I'm not gonna sit here and be your cash cow while you talk trash. Go talk to the wall. I'm gonna go over here and do something else.
And it sucks because it doesn't matter. It's a win-win for that person. If John responds, it's a win. If John decides he wants to fight you, it's a win. If John says he's not going to respond, it doesn't matter. It's still going to get covered, and you're going to be a more known name than you were yesterday because you're talking crazy to John Jones. So it's a win-win in their book and the way that they look at it, and that's why they do it. But I agree with you there. John right there says, I agree with Jones. I agree with him wholeheartedly too. I usually don't like when fighters say, hey man, I'm not trying to give this person, it's a lose-lose for me. If, I'm not trying to make this guy a name. And usually I don't like that because usually it's done in the sense of ducking. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe John's ducking anybody. I just feel like he's being truthful and honest in what he's saying. And to the point of he's selling a fight, Mark, sometimes both things could be true. I think that John really feels the way that the things that he said, I really think he feels that way. And yes, him going and speaking the truth in front of the mic in that particular way can also be selling the fight. You can still tell the truth and sell the fight.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. But I'm just going to go ahead and say this from John, and then we're going to head out. John says exactly. That's why he is saying if he does it, he needs a bag. If you are using me, then let me get money off your antics. All right. So So it makes sense. But I'm just going to ask you this, and then we head out. Which would you rather see? You rather see him fight Tom? Or you rather see him fight Alex?
I'd rather see him fight Alex. I think a lot of people. I think most people would want to see him fight Alex. So
I would rather.
I think it's going to be. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
He's gonna dismantle Alex, but
I believe so too. So but that's the who else is there for him to fight? Mark is the question.
Alex is a when it comes to stand up, Alex is a much better fight. But John is so accomplished on the ground that it's going to be destruction. But Alex is the much better fight money wise.
Jones' defense don't get enough credit, man. I like what Alex does, and Alex surprises a lot of people in his fights with how powerful he is, with how technical he is, with how precise he is. I don't think those things are going to add up to that versus John Jones. So I'm not worried about that. And that's where Alex's strength lies. His strength lies in the surprising power and the surprising accuracy in his hits and his stand-up game. And if all he has, I'm not going to say all he has is stand-up, Mark, but let's be real. When you're comparing it to John Jones, if all you got is stand-up, that's not enough. John Jones has proven that time and time again. He knows exactly what to do with those types of fighters. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So that's the end of our show, guys. Thank you for watching, and remember, as always, it's only entertainment, and that has never been more prevalent than when you watch that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, and the fights preceded. That this is all entertainment. It's not real, and make your bets accordingly. So, with that being said, link, like, subscribe. Follow us. See you and lock us in for every Tuesday at 8:05. He said Jamal Hill was doing okay before the knockout, and he is nowhere close to Jones. Okay.
Yeah, he said Alex just got beat up by a Korean. Look, I think we're just saying the same thing.
Right.
It's not it would be the better fight, but that does not mean it'll be a good fight.
Right. So, but anyway, with that being said, man, link, like, subscribe. As always, lock us in for 8:05 every Tuesday because that's when we're on. And we appreciate you guys for watching. Peace.
Peace.